Hello and welcome to another season of History After Hours. This is season 3.
Season 3, oh my God.
We are starting our third year of doing this History After Hours podcast. For some of you, you didn't even know this existed until maybe now.
Now your life is complete.
Or it's years in the future after a Holocaust or a nuclear episode, and
God, I hope not.
this video's or this audio's all that's left. But yeah, this is
An alien race visiting the planet years in the future comes across this audio, realizing that there was intelligent life on the planet.
So if you have never heard this before, we are two history teachers from a place called Lakeside in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And the podcast it's just kind of what comes to our minds.
We call it History After Hours, but really it's just our brains unleashed. What do we want to talk about? Let's just do it.
Mr. Franklin is the AP Euro, AP World guru. I teach AP US, so we make a good partnership in this. We will this season hopefully have some students on. We'll try to get some community members in. We'll have some more interviews, hopefully other teachers,
Right.
people that are in politics. But yeah, so it's a political show, but it's also, we're going to be talking about music and whatever else, sports, who knows. But let's start this episode with, so last Friday and this last Monday, by the way, this is August 30th,
Right.
2017. We had Senator Tom Cotton come down and talk to the seniors and some juniors and some sophomores. And then Monday, the governor, Asa Hutchinson, came down and addressed the student body. So let's just take it one at a time. Senator Tom Cotton.
You know, that was both of these visits, but maybe Senator Cotton's visit first and foremost were pretty remarkable. To have these guys reach out to our school and to suggest that they would come here and give us any kind of talk, which has never happened in Lakeside's history, from what I can tell. Anybody I've talked to said, no, this is a brand new thing, especially back to back. You know, you have a sitting senator and Arkansas's governor come and address the student body. And I like Senator Cotton's probably more than the governor's, because he went on not just on his motivational speech about getting involved in community efforts and politics and military, whatever you're going to do. You know, have a plan and be part of the community and help enhance your nation. But then he went on and he allowed them to ask him questions, and then he answered them, and he was pretty forthright, as much as anybody in at that level of politics can. But I thought that he was pretty open about what his position was on certain things. He didn't dance as much as I thought he might. I was really impressed with how he handled himself, and then to take it upon another level and to stay and do a full interview with our broadcast team.
Yeah.
Scarlett did a good job. A senior named Scarlett Gooch. She did a great job with the interview. I saw the video during my planning time earlier. And so, that's a nice moment to have them.
Yeah, shout out to the Lakeside Broadcasting team. They've done a great job, and it's fun to see the students actually leading the way in all this. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he gave up a lot of his time, not only speaking for 30 plus minutes to our student body, but then he stayed and took pictures and then had a one-on-one interview. So now it begs the question, why? I heard that there's a friend he went to college with who's from here and kept bragging about Lakeside, and he was going to be in Hot Springs anyway, so he said, hey, let's do it. Mm-hmm. But of course it begs the question, he wanted to meet with seniors, and then the rumors start flying he's running for president in 2020.
Well, we'll see. I mean, maybe. I think he's got some aspirations. I mean, if you look back at the past couple of years especially, some of the things that he's been doing, he's been positioning himself pretty well, and he's been on the national news circuit quite a bit. But even with just committee meetings and whatever, he's usually doing something to get his name out there, and he's taking a stand on certain things, and he's got some support. So maybe.
Well, you remember we talked about this in 2015 when he wrote the open letter to Iran, basically disagreeing with Obama's decision to have that nuclear agreement with Iran, and he got 40 plus senators to sign it, and he kind of was and he got national attention.
Yeah.
And instantly we're thinking, okay,
I wondered about the protocol of that moment, and I was hoping maybe one of the student questions would go down that path. It didn't get a chance to because he only had limited time. But he took it upon himself to do that, and they sent that letter, which I get they didn't have to pass it through through the presidency, but at the same time, they chose not to.
There was an act, what was it called, the Jones Act, I believe, where they were worried that he might be in violation of this, which means he is undercutting a presidential agreement. So I don't know how that all played out, but no matter what, it was nice to have a senator and then turn around on Monday and have a governor.
Sure.
Asa Hutchinson came and talked to our entire student body, 712. We filled up the gym, and it was about a computer science initiative and that we're getting virtual reality.
Partnership with Facebook, right?
I think so, yeah. So, and so that was, it was nice to, they just saw the governor. So
do you think that part of Hutchinson's plan too, because his re-election's coming up soon too, that since this is one of the major things that he ran on to win his first term, that he's coming back now and saying, see, we've made some progress? Because part of his speech was about, hey, look, here's where we started, here's where we are now, look how many more people are involved in the system, look how many more girls are involved in the system, Arkansas is leading the path, here, this thing has been pretty successful. I wonder if that's part of that, so that he can now tout that as, I wonder if this is an early campaign sort of thing. I'm not trying to read too much into it, but it is nice to have the virtual reality stuff. But at the same time, I wonder, he's going to get some good publicity out of it.
Being history teachers, we realize that politicians of all degree are always thinking about their next election. So I'm sure it didn't hurt, and we can get into that. But you did email me something, moving on to another small topic,
Sure.
Yesterday, and I listened to a podcast about fake news, how it can get worse. And a lot of you might be listening going, how can fake news possibly get worse? Well,
there's a chance.
With technology improving to the point where anyone can take a video and audio and make a person, through software manipulation, make a person say anything they want in a video. So like you could be watching a leader, pick your leader, Trump, Obama, and make them say the most outlandish things, and you can't tell the difference if it's true or not. That's going to be a game changer when you can't trust your own eyes in video.
This was an article written in the Economist magazine that I saw online, and it reminded me of the first time I read 1984. Think about the way that they're controlling the media and what's actually out there for you, and controlling people's lives through controlling what they ingest as far as their their news or whatever, altering history. And if you can they were just sort of focusing on print media and whatever, but if we get to the point where we are unable to tell the difference between actual video, audio, and the like, and you can see people saying these outlandish things or being involved in some sort of horrific moment. Maybe you've got some leader that is leading a riot or something like that, and they actually never did that, but it looks so real that you can't determine the difference, even at a pixelated level. That's where this article really got my attention, is that they're using computer programming in a combating system where one is trying to make it as real as it possibly can, and another computer program running simultaneously is checking it for discrepancies or indiscrepancies and then calling it out. And so the programs are actually learning from each other. One is trying to say, no, it's fake right here, and the other one's trying to make it look more real. And so it's it's not perfected yet, but it will be soon. And when that happens, there may be a flood of information that comes forth that is completely just generated for whoever agenda happens to be controlling the program at that moment.
Yeah, this will be software that's available for just about anybody's use. So it's not just going to be memes and quotes. It's going to be video of people, and their mouth will match up perfectly with what they're saying.
Right, and they never did these things, but it will look exactly like they did. And so how do you then how do you get veracity? How do you verify?
They say initially it will have experts will be the only one who will be able to break down the video, and then eventually that.
Yeah, but you have to be able to trust quote unquote experts.
Oh, I know.
So now what do? It's a weird moment. Like, we're not quite there yet. We're getting there, and it won't take long, I don't think.
Yeah, that's going to be, maybe there'll be, I don't know, maybe we hook up somebody to one of those lie detector tests as the video is shot in real time, live only. I have no idea.
I mean, if you don't actually see them say it, you probably can't trust it.
Yeah. Well, automatically, if you just think about what happened during Obama and now Trump's administration, where you see them shaking hands with the somebody, some terrorist, which never happened because it was
Right.
Photoshop.
Sure.
And Photoshop has gotten great. Now, if you just take that to video and audio and
Yeah.
what you can't trust your senses, that's going to be.
It's a little unnerving, to tell you the truth, to think that we're going to go to that point. And, you know, on one hand, it's incredible technology, but on the other hand, I can see all kinds of horrific uses
I
for
heard
that technology.
some of the software developers that are working for the company, one of the leading companies working on this, they interviewed them and they didn't even care. They didn't care what the concept, they just wanted to get the technology out there and better. That's all they think about. You know, that's their mindset is who's first in these new technological, you know, they think of it as gaming and, you know, you take real celebrities and put them in games
Sure.
and you can be them. And so they don't think the political and stuff, I mean, you could cause a war over something like this. Speaking of war, is North Korea going to kill us all?
See, you know, I was having a conversation with some folks the other day about the North Korea thing, and these were adults, not just students, although they're concerned as well. North Korea has an interesting pattern of behavior that I think we're just watching that continue. However, let's go ahead and clarify for the audience. Like just yesterday or the day before, North Korea, they've been launching missiles in opposition and defiance of the things that the United States is saying and trying to put sanctions on them. Same thing with the UN Security Council. But yesterday, they shot a missile that actually went over Japan and landed out in the sea. Like it actually crossed Japanese airspace. And they have done things like that before, so I don't know if this is necessarily as provocative as it could be. Obviously, it is a clear sort of demonstration of their abilities. But I don't know that it automatically leads us to war. What the pattern has been in the past, and when I watch history, I try to watch those patterns, right? So you can try to make predictions about what's going to happen based on what has happened. And for the past, 50-ish years, their pattern has been, for the Kim family specifically, to be belligerent, try to do some sort of saber rattling, do something a little crazy, and then they have this sort of pressure release, and they get to look good in front of their people, and they get to continue their power grab at the same place in an emergency situation. We have ultimate power over you because they promote to their people that the United States is going to invade at any minute, and we have to be readily prepared to hold back that attack or whatever. And so he has to look good for his people, and this helps him do that. And he's doing something to make himself look stronger. Now with the nuclear issue, obviously that's an amped up element of danger, but it doesn't automatically equate war. Even at this moment, it doesn't necessarily break that. Because, the pattern has been for them to do whatever it takes to stay in power, to maintain this ultimate grip on everything in the country. And if they have to brutalize people inside their own country, they will, and they do. But you have to believe that he knows that if he actually hits anything with one of those missiles, if he actually hits Japan, if he actually hits South Korea, if he actually hits Guam, I mean, that ends his power automatically, because it's a no-brainer. China's going to get involved automatically on our side, and it just kind of collapses from there.
Yeah.
He will go out of power. So if the ultimate goal, and I try to think about what people's goals are when they do things, is for him to maintain power, then this is just a display, and we can go on about our business. However, if we continue to back him into a corner where he feels he has no escape valve and he can't continue to look good in front of his people without actually doing something, if he's that desperate, then it turns into a different scenario altogether where he will lash out and hit something because he knows he's going down either way. That's kind of the idea.
Yeah, and for years, North Korea has been a thing. But I remember when they interviewed Obama towards the end of his presidency, they asked him, because presidents know way more than we do, just speculating out here on the outside.
Yeah.
They asked Obama, what keeps you up at night? And he kind of hauled around and political answer, and then they kept on. And they said, what really? And he goes, Pakistan. That's what keeps me up at night. And he just like had a moment of honesty. And so we focus on North Korea because they're in the news, but you have to understand there's 9 countries with nuclear weapons, some of which could go rogue, and I think there's always this threat. It's not something I don't really concern myself with.
See,
I'm not running.
In a weird way, as militant and locked down and repressive as that regime is, their structure is so stable. I mean, it is stable because they have all these power, things in place. People aren't really bucking that system. If we march in there and destabilize it, it may be worse than if we just let him continue on to do what he's doing. And that sounds horrible, maybe, but realistically, the downside to taking him out is that you've got millions of refugees. You've got people whose lives are completely shattered, and their reality is I mean, you have to retrain people to come into the modern world, and I don't know that they could accept that. China doesn't want all those refugees. South Korea doesn't want those. China loves to have the buffer between the westernized South Koreans and themselves. So, like I said, everybody's best interest is kind of let this boy play his games, and it's unfortunate for his people, but that may just be collateral damage if you look at it from an international scale.
Yeah.
But just to kind of tap in with your point, a destabilized Pakistan, which already has nuclear capabilities and more ability to strike out, you know, that's a scary thing to think about too.
America going into any country and taking the leader out and trying to Americanize, it's never really worked out like we've wanted it to, and it's always kind of
Venezuela's now on the map of our military folks because Trump has mentioned that. Well, because they're destabilized down there, opposition to the president, massive protests going on. You know, he's turning into sort of a dictatorial type guy, and then President Trump has said, well, you know, we might just send troops down there. And so now that's the thing are we going to go there too? Is that really in anybody's best interest? I don't know. I mean, Venezuela has a lot of oil, but do we go into another oil-rich country and try to create regime change? I just don't know that that's a great plan. Anyway, hopefully that's not a thing either.
It's interesting. At the end of season 2, History After Hours, in the last episode, Trump's investigation with Russia and all that was heating up. And we looked at each other and was like, what in the world is the next few months going to bring? We're not doing this. And he's still rolling along, you know?
Yeah.
He's got his supporters. He's got a lot of his critics. And we're just kind of rolling through a crazy time where he says something outrageous every few weeks and we go crazy. And then he just goes on to something else.
He, as much as he criticizes the media, there's a point to what he's saying. They are easily manipulated, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
He loves the attention, and they give it to him. So all he got to do is say something weird when there's a lull, and they go, because since he announced his candidacy, he's been 24/7 news cycle. There's not been a day that I can think of since he announced his candidacy for president that he hasn't dominated the news. And I think that that's part of his plan. He loves that attention. Negative or positive, it doesn't really matter as long as he gets them going. And the best way to rile them up to talk about him is to say something about them, as a matter of fact. And there is a clear difference between left-leaning media and right-leaning media and groups in between. I mean, you do have some of those that are really trying, but there are certain groups that are not going to say anything positive about him no matter what he does.
Right.
So,
and now you have this, what's Antifa? How do you pronounce it?
Antifa is how I've heard it pronounced, yeah.
Okay, so this anti-fascist group that now are turning violent.
Yeah.
The thing they hate is now what they're becoming. And so you have liberals on the left, crazies on the right. It's an interesting bipolar time that we live in.
I really believe that even with those groups and as vocal as they've been and as violent as we've seen it happen, some of the clashes that we've seen recently in Berkeley and other places, I still in my heart believe that the majority of Americans really just want to be left alone and they want to find a way to get along, and we're good, decent people at heart, and this stuff, you can get caught up in sort of the mentality of it, but at the same time, those radical fringes are really minorities in this country themselves.
Right.
But they make so much noise, and fire gets people's attention.
Yeah.
And there's been murder and mayhem, and that's also part of the news cycle. And so it makes it seem like it's everywhere, when in reality, it's truly not. Do we have issues that need to be worked on? Certainly. Do we have, violent people on the left and violent people on the right? Absolutely. And that needs to be dealt with from people who are more moderately minded on both sides of the
Well, that's what we
spectrum.
need. We need identity politics to go away. We need a centrist, moderate group to kind of come through.
That's
and
my
take
opinion.
it.
I mean, everybody can feel the way they want to about it, but the only real I picture it as an interstate, a one-lane interstate. Let's say we're going the only usable space is in the middle. The radicals are in the ditches. You know what I'm saying? And so that's kind of like the gutter mentality. You're not making any progress there. You're going to bog down, and you're not going to go forward. Usable surface in the middle. Whether you're in the right lane or the left lane, I don't care. But the center surface is where we make our progress, and we're going together when we go. That's the idea, and we've got to remember that. Honestly,
Yeah.
we've got to get past some of the petty bickering, and there are serious issues that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
Issues of race, gender issues that still need to be worked on, but you can't solve those problems overnight. You have to have real, clear, honest, calm dialogue between rational people to get those things solved. And if you just listen to the knuckleheads on either side, then it just it really, they interrupt the process of progress, in my opinion.
Right.
And so we've got to figure out a way to not that I'm trying to shut people down, because everybody has the right to speak their side, even the radicals. However, we don't have to let them dominate the news. We don't have to let them permeate our vision of existence, and realize that, again, out of 400 million Americans, most of us really are seeking the same thing in life, and we need to remember that.
Right. Okay, well, we're going to finish this little episode up with, I just came up with this top single acts of music. So let's talk about solo artist.
Okay.
Influential or great? Which way you want to go? Because it could be very different. Great is such an opinionated thing.
Let's do influential.
Okay.
And are you talking about actual performers, or you mean people behind the scenes? What do you mean?
Let's do performers.
Okay.
We can do people, producers, we can do composers, whatever later.
All right.
Now, you've got people like Woody Guthrie. You've got...
You're talking about just Americans now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, of course, if you look at the scope of music, American music, and I hate to be so Eurocentric or American-centric, does seem to touch more people globally than, other countries to some degree.
I heard that 80s pop music is real popular in Japan right now. I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard that.
Yeah, maybe so.
Like an 80s revival.
I'm going to go to Japan.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Let's name some of the obvious ones.
Okay, well,
Elvis Presley, simply because of his fame.
Okay.
He's one of my top two most famous, being Michael Jackson being the other. I think you can get in music so famous that you can't help but be influential.
Yeah, well, maybe.
But I don't know that he's musically very influential.
I mean, when you become a household name, right?
Yeah, and people. When did he die? 77.
Yeah.
Here we are in 2017, and everybody at the school still
who
knows.
Is, yeah. I would say Prince.
Yeah.
Prince Rogers Nelson, not because he was a prodigy, I guess, from whatever I've read about the guy.
Yeah, I put him as the most underrated guitar player.
Could play every instrument, apparently. Composed, singer-songwriter, wrote for other people, had music library, was a fantastic performer, was a choreographer, could dance. I mean, this dude, realistically, fashion trendsetter, and really, for the most part, in his personal life, staying out of the public eye and getting that done.
Oh yeah, he has good control over his music.
Yeah, right. So
there's so many to name. Hendrix.
Yeah, Hendrix was such a short-lived but very influential.
Yeah.
Does that matter? He only had 3 years worth of music, and yet he changed the scope of rock music in particular in this country. So,
Bob Dylan. Culturally.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to rank. Okay, let's go. Greatest. Here we go.
All right.
Most influential single act.
What about, we didn't say any females on that list.
Oh, I know. Okay, so let's.
Dolly Parton.
Madonna. Whitney Houston.
Beyonce.
Oh, Beyonce today probably is number one. What's Patsy Cline?
Oh, maybe.
Who was the first real deal famous, influential female? I know people are probably screaming at their windshield as we try to. I thought Patsy
Cline kind of comes. The name kind of jumps out there.
There's probably others. There was a lot of groups too, but we're talking like Diana Ross. But there was the Supremes before that. There's.
Yeah.
Overall.
Oh.
Man, it's.
But you're talking about individual people, not groups.
Yeah, it's hard to beat Elvis because everybody knows who he is. It's like Neil Armstrong. You land on the moon, and in 1,000 years, people still might know your name. Yeah. You're going to outlast some folks. Now, actual musical influence, maybe not, but it's just as far as just a lightning bolt of fame.
Yeah, maybe. Wow. Is Elvis bigger than Michael Jackson?
Well, he's further back, so he's had more time to be big. I don't know. Those are 1 and 2 as far as fame. You can go to.
I'd say double. I'd say they probably co-rule. King of rock and roll, king of pop. I don't know how they're like co-monarchs.
Right. And sorry, Johnny Cash. We understand. There's others.
Yeah, right.
I know we're not trying to leave anybody else. This is just we're thinking about overall, globally too.
What about people like Duke Ellington and
I know.
And
Gershwin.
But yeah, see, it doesn't just have to be like
Robert
Pop
Johnson.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sticking with Elvis
Louis Armstrong.
Presley. Oh, I've seen. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe that's what we should.
That's tricky, boy. That's
tricky.
such. I mean, you can make a strong argument for any of those.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Well, if you have any things you would like to share, you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter at History Hours PC. Please share and tell people about this. Give us questions and topics. We'll have students on, so we really want this thing to grow this year. We're going to try to do a weekly podcast to start off with, see how that goes. So if you have any suggestions, let us know. Goodbye.